And we are back. Our featured guest tonight is a friend of the show and one of the very first guests we had in season one. He's the mastermind behind the mic at JZ94.5. And I have the privilege of welcoming him back to the weekly show tonight. Please give a warm welcome to Tabari Daniels. Tabari, it's great to have you back, man.
David, it's a pleasure. Look at you in another place now. We're having a social distance, but you're still looking good, man.
There you go. How have you been?
I've been fantastic. I'm on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Everybody is social distancing and everything from kids and virtual learning to some of the shows not being postponed and canceled and festivals being moved and postponed. So everybody wants some normalcy. Everybody wants to get back into the swing of things. But of course, we've got to be a lot more responsible first.
Yeah, I know. What's been going on JZ94.5 since we last spoke?
Oh, wow. Well, just recently, the Neilsen ratings came out, and JZ94.5 was the #1 station. Most listeners, 12 plus. So kudos to the Mississippi Gulf Coast for making us #1 in that regard. Right now we're in the heart of the MLK celebration weekend. So coming up Monday, there's a awards banquet and awards giveaway and battle of the bands, so to speak, battle showcase. Everything's done virtually, obviously, because of COVID, but that's where we are right now today.
How do they do something like that virtually? I mean,
I'm sure you know when it comes to putting together a show, you have to be very inventive. A lot of things have to be pre-recorded and timed out, and some of our bands have sent some performances that they've done because a lot of schools right now are in on vacation or for the holidays for the most part. So a lot of people are sending tapes and such, not to mention there's there's a health forum, summits and all. So panelists, people will be able to talk via chats and all that stuff and message. So it's really a virtual thing.
So last time we spoke was pre-COVID, obviously. What has life been like both for you personally and your radio station since the actual pandemic hit?
Wow. Well, just like many parents, I'm a father. So my daughter's doing the virtual thing, trying to stay safe. Lots of that going on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Kudos to all the educators and administrators out there because it has been a challenging year for a lot of the education administrators. As far as JZ94.5, we have been really, really instrumental when it comes to getting that information out of the importance of testing, the importance of wearing that mask, the importance of social distancing, because you just never know. You can go out to the grocery store for 5 minutes and not talk to many, but then carry something back in and somebody else gets infected. So that's been really our thing, especially leading out of 2020, going into 2021. Plus, we had a big election year this past year. So politically, there's been so many changes. Medically, there's been so many changes. So we're all kind of wondering where the heck this thing's going to go in 2021.
So what has life been like for your audience and community? Because your station, it primarily skews African American.
Right.
What has life been like for your audience and your community?
As far as African American audience and community, obviously, when it comes to a lot of hardship, a lot of people of color and minorities, not just African Americans, but even Latinos, they tend to don't get access to resources as much as their white counterparts. Unfortunately, that's something that's being worked out. So I've been seeing a lot of people working together, though, which is great. One thing about being on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, we are a very resilient community because of all the hurricanes.
Everybody had to survive Katrina.
Right. And then we just had Zeta last year. So that sense of fellowship when it comes to all of us sharing the same adversity, that's been a big plus. And I think that especially among the African American community, as with other communities, that fellowship and cooperation has been a real big steadfast thing.
What would you say have been some of the things that seem the hardest to handle since it hit?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. Just being cut off. You have so many people who are feeling cut off. You're cut off from what you would normally do for recreation. In many cases, we're cut off in many cases because of our occupation. Then you cut off from family members. There's so many people who are going through the sick and shut in thing where you just can't have that exchange and everything. There's only so much you can do over technology. And then lastly, just dealing with your own personal thing. I tell you what, right now, when it comes to mental awareness, mental health awareness, there's some issues that we have to deal personally that because we're sick and shut in, now we have to open up and really face some of those challenges.
We've got multiple vaccines now, but it seems like some people are reluctant to take them. We talked about your station's demographic a little bit. What has been the response in the African American community as far as the vaccine is concerned? I mean, I know people who spout conspiracy theories on social media every day about them. You know what I mean? So what's the word on the street there on your end?
As far as African American community, there's always been a little skepticism when it comes to a lot of medical, brand new things being put into the community. Obviously, because of historical purposes, you go to the Tuskegee Airmen, and there's just a history that African Americans and people of color tend to be the guinea pigs, so to speak. So there's a reluctance. There are people who are there's a reluctance, but there is a hope, and there's not a situation of being negative per se, but it's more of okay, we don't want to be the first, but we definitely want to be the last, So I think that when it comes to African Americans, it's more of okay, let me see who's going to get it first, and not to jump into anything just, cold turkey.
Well, I mean, I'll be frank. My brother is an emergency room nurse. He got the vaccine 4 weeks ago, the first dose, and then he got the second dose Tuesday of last week. So, frankly, he's kind of our family's guinea pig.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? So because he's at first, he's in the healthcare field, they're giving those people first. So, and he's in the emergency room every day dealing with people, and anybody could have it. You're dealing with emergencies. You don't know who, and they're up in New York. They've got limited PPE, so I guess we'll see how he does with it.
Right.
So,
and just to add to that, Dave, there's just a whole bunch of other questions that a lot of people are asking, in the sense that, okay, if a person refuses the vaccine and their job requires the vaccine, is that something to where they won't be able to work, or is this something that they're going to have to get some sort of unemployment? Would they still make them eligible because they can work, but they're not allowed to work because they can't get the vaccine? Are they it's going to be a situation where you have to prove to people that you have the vaccine? So at that point, now I've got to prove to you my own personal medical history at that point. So it's just a whole bunch of
they're talking about different things, whether it be a card or putting it on your phone. And then, you get one of those little funky square barcode things. Right. And then that way you can get into large events like concerts. And this goes to the entertainment industry, which you're very much a part of. They're talking about that for being able to get into sporting events and things like that. And that way you're not a risk, and you can't create a super spreader event. And if you haven't had it, then you're not getting in. And that's one thing that's a topic of discussion, and it's interesting. I mean, if you think about it, schools, even when it comes to, polio and measles and mumps and rubella and shots like that, I mean, up until last year, you couldn't get into the school without having all your shots. Your kid couldn't go to school without all the shots. But here we are in the middle of a pandemic. What's going to be the word on that? Are they going to say your kid can't come to school unless your kid has the shot?
Right.
So
based off of what you're saying, my son plays Division II basketball up at University of Arkansas Monticello, and it was something to where he had to take some sort of vaccination in order to continue to play. So it's serious.
That's I didn't realize they were doing that with athletes this early. So here's what I want to do. We got to go to a quick commercial break. And then I want to come back and talk about the role that radio plays in our lives a little bit. Can you come back after the break?
Yeah, I got it, man.
Good deal, man.